If you are preparing for your IMAT exam and you are using old YouTube videos, old resources, old practice material, and listening to advice of someone who does not know about the new format change in IMAT exam, then believe me, you should stop. Because the exam that you're going to sit in is entirely different, and you might be preparing for the exam in wrong way and you don't even know it. So in this video I will break down how Cambridge shifted from MUR era and what is the current paper pattern, and at the end of the video I will share with you something that I have building for months and it will help you a lot with the current format. So let's get started.
Okay, so let's go back to where this all started, from 2011 all the way to 2022. The IMAT was written by Cambridge Assessment. Yes, the same Cambridge that was behind the IMAT exam, that took TSA level, A levels exams, and Cambridge had a very specific style. The questions were application based. They didn't want you to memorize a definition. They wanted you to take a concept you have never seen before and figure it out on the spot. So the questions were like multi-statement questions. They had a layered logic, right? Like kind of biology question that looked really simple on the surface had a very, like, kind of a hidden trap inside of the questions. And if we talk about the logic section in particular, like, was genuinely hard, to be honest. Like, they had abstract critical puzzles, like you kind of get different weird kind of puzzles, and similarly that you see in your TSA or BMAT section, old BMAT section 1 exams. So there weren't your standard like kind of which conclusion follows questions. They required real reasoning even under the exam pressure. So the scoring was the same as today, plus 1.5 for correct answer and minus 0.4 for the wrong option. But the feel of the paper was completely different, right? The Cambridge era IMAT rewarded the students who deeply understood the concepts. Memorizing the facts alone, like, was not enough at that time. And like, here's the thing, to be honest, if someone tells you to go to do the 2020, 19 or 2021 past papers as your primary preparation, then they are giving you an outdated advice. The papers are useful for building logic muscles and stamina and preparation material as a secondary preparation material. Yes, you can use them, but they will not prepare you for what's actually going on the paper right now. As you can see, this is a practical question in front of you that was asked in Cambridge era, and these kind of the questions were really common in Cambridge era. And if we talk about the next topic, that is the MUR era, after 2023 the MUR era took over. In 2023 everything changed. Like, Cambridge walked away and Italian Ministry of University, called as MUR, took over the written exam entirely. So now when this was announced, there was like kind of panic in the students, and they didn't know if the exam was being cancelled. The internet was full of rumors. That year was like, was really chaotic. But it wasn't, like, to be honest, the exam went ahead. Paper like felt different from day one. Obviously the conducting body was different, so paper was obviously going to be different. So the 2023 MUR paper was actually harder than most Cambridge papers. Students who weren't prepared for conceptual depth got hit really hard, and cutoffs dropped at some universities because the paper was genuinely tough. Then MUR overcorrected, and the 2024 paper swung to other extreme, like so easy that one biological question literally asked which process happens in the mitochondria, right? There is a joke in students, like, what is the powerhouse of the cell, like, right? So that kind of questions was asked, like really basic knowledge, and that's why the cutoff spiked. Like, during 2024 the cutoff was the highest in the history of IMAT, and student who had grinded really deep preparation like felt like, why did I prepare so hard when the paper was going to be so easy? Because students who had memorized surface level facts, like, and they got the seats, right? That was kind of a hard thing to do. But then like 2025 landed, and somewhere in the middle, like, it was harder than 2024, but it was more application based, you can say, closer to what you can expect from a rigorous admission test. So 2025 was a good era and good time for your IMAT preparation. So 2023 was really hard, 2024 was really easy, and 2025 was a basic, really good admission test that should be done. It was harder than 2024, but it was still easier than 2023 IMAT exam. So cutoffs came back towards a middle rank, and the cutoffs dropped down after 2024. So what does this tell us? That MUR is unpredictable. You cannot look at 1 year and assume that next will feel the same. So the only safe strategy is to be generally prepared across the board, like not to bet on the same exam that would be that like IMAT is going to be easy again like 2024, or we can't even bet on this question about that the IMAT exam is going to be hard like 2023. So you have to take the preparation in a way so that you are prepared for both of the sides. Like you need to know like what happens if the exam is hard, what happens if the exam is easy, what happens if they want to ask deep understand knowledge, they want to give you trick questions, and what if the questions are straightforward. You should be prepared for both of these sides, and you need to know like what are the resources that you need to take, and what are the resources that you need to break down. So if you see, this is a example question that was asked in IMAT era in 2024. So these were kind of the examples of questions that are being asked in MUR era. So this is a table in front of you that is telling you about the differences between Cambridge and MUR era. You can see it and you can understand that what has changed after 2023 and what you can expect in your upcoming IMAT exam. So if let's move on to our next topic, that is about what is the current format breakdown for the IMAT, like what is actually happening right now. So here's the current IMAT structure. Like there are going to be 60 questions, there are going to be 100 minutes, and pen and paper you will use, and 5 answers choice questions will be given, and the correct like one correct answer will be there. So the sections are actually reading skills and general knowledge will have 4 questions, and they are like English comprehensive questions. You read a passage and you answer, and grammar questions have appeared here too, like weird, but yes, grammar question has been asked in IMAT after 2023 in MUR era. If your English is solid, then these are like kind of free marks. You don't need to prepare a lot for this section. And then you have logical reasoning and problem solving section, and this had like 5 questions in your IMAT exam. This is where it differs from most the Cambridge era, because no more abstract TSA or A levels type of puzzles were asked. It's now about inference questions, conditional logic, reading comprehension of different kind, and quicker to solve than before. The questions are less shorter, the paragraphs are smaller, but still the concepts and the logic behind the questions have not changed a lot, because logical reasoning is asking problem solving questions a lot. So that's why you need to have a really good base in mathematics if you are going to get full marks in logical reasoning part. The next thing is about biology. The biology is like the biggest section and the most important one. In 2025, this was highly emphasis on human physiology, because and especially cellular respiration, and made up like 30% of the biology alone was from cellular respiration. The key shift from MUR is that questions are now reward conceptual understanding, not just definitions. Okay, so you need to know your stuff and you need to understand it, not just just memorize all the stuff. You need to understand what you are studying right now. The next thing is about the chemistry section. So the chemistry section has 15 questions. Calculation are they are mostly calculation based, and MUR, stoichiometry, gas laws, equilibrium, all questions are to be solved without a calculator, right? So in 2025 there was more topic variety and greater focus on definitions, but you cannot predict what will happen in the future. So you need to know that you have to prepare numerical based and also theory based questions, because in 2025 the chemistry section had more theory based questions than numericals. So let's talk about the last section, that is about physics and mathematics. Physics and mathematics have 13 questions both combined. So the section rewards students who can apply formulas quickly, and the math is not complex in theory, but under time pressure it trips most people up. Like for me it was like kind of easy, but hard at the same time, because when most students are sitting in the exam, and if I give my example, when I was sitting in the exam, the math section looked really hard when I took a first glance, but then when you start solving the paper and when you come back to math section again, then you feel like that it was not that hard if you have prepared really well for the mathematics part. So you have to prepare for that part so that you don't get stuck in mathematics, because mathematics is a really important part. Even 1 or 2 points or score is really important in competitive exam. If you are a non-European student, then these topics and these questions are more essential than European students, because European cutoff is small and the competition is also not that hard. But for non-European students, the cutoff is really high, the competition is hard, so even 1 or 2 marks difference can make or delay your admission for 1 year. So it's up to you, like, you know, if you want to risk your admission, or if you want to like confirm your admission. If you want to increase your chances, then I definitely tell you to work hard on physics and mathematics, because 13 questions are a lot. Like 13 questions can like literally change the history of your whole life, to be honest. So let's talk about how you can prepare for your 2026 preparation. So first of all, like, now you understand the landscape. Here what it actually means for you to prepare for 2026. First, don't rely on Cambridge era papers as your first benchmark. Like, you can use them, they are useful for building deep understanding and logic skills, but don't let the question style confuse you about what to expect on the exam day. Like, prioritize 2023, 2024 and 2025 papers for pacing and format practice. Don't use those past papers for like Cambridge era past papers for your primary resources. Use them as a secondary resource, but don't use them as a primary resource. Second, biology is your biggest investment. Like, it contains 23 questions, and MUR has shown is that you can grow from dead easy to deep conceptual within a single year, right? You need to be ready for the harder end, so don't skip the fundamentals and assuming that they are too basic, right? And don't skip complex physiology assuming that it's going to be too advanced, because like anything can happen. So I want you to cover everything that is there for your IMAT exam. Third is the logical section. Like, it is now more accessible. That's actually like kind of a double-edged sword, to be honest, because it's easier, more students score well on it, so you can't afford to drop marks there. And practice English comprehension and different questions. Don't neglect this part because it is kind of free marks. The fourth part is that pace yourself differently now, because MUR questions are generally quicker to solve than Cambridge questions. Like, students are more likely to finish the paper. That means not finishing is no longer an excuse, because in Cambridge era the question paper was too long and many of the students couldn't even complete the paper. But now the paper is small, so you can finish the exam, so there is no excuse for you. And students who used to skip sections can't do that anymore. You have to be prepared across all subjects. You have to prepare all subjects. In Cambridge era, many students used to skip mathematics parts because they knew that cutoffs are going to be around 40, 50. So they knew that if they scored really well in biology, chemistry and logical, then they can like get a seat. But now you have to prepare really well for physics and mathematics too, because physics and mathematics also contain a large amount of portion of your IMAT exam. If we talk about preparation material, and if you are using preparation material before 2023, like the books that were released before 2023, then practice material, especially the practice material before 2023, then you don't use that sources as your primary resource. The resources include BMAT past papers. The resources include your IMAT past papers before 2023, and books like Ultimate IMAT Guide. And these kind of books were really useful before 2023, but they are not that useful now because they are not really relevant to your current IMAT exam. So you can use these subjects, you can use these books as a secondary resource, but use the IMAT pattern papers, or use the practice material that is actually relevant to the current exam. So if you are thinking about what kind of materials that you can use, then which brings me to something that I've been working on for a while now. You know, I built IMAT Sensei to give students and guidance which I wish I had when I was going through this process myself. And I sat in this exam and I scored full marks in biology. I know that what it feels like to be a student drowning in outdated resources, trying to figure out what is actually relevant, what you have to study and what you don't have to study. So over the past few months, I've been writing a series of books specifically designed for the new MUR format, not the Cambridge era, not the resources that are half relevant, books that are actually built from ground up for how IMAT actually looks now. And the launch is actually coming up very soon. These books cover everything: biology chapter by chapter, chemistry, physics, mathematics, structured the way the exam actually tests you, conceptual understanding, exam strategy that are actually built in, rapid revision tools, so you don't need to like just reading and forgetting everything. There are like so many revision practice material that is given there. This book launch is for students who are actually really serious for 2026. If that's you, watch for the announcements and keep really updated with my YouTube channel, because I am going to be giving really important updates according to your IMAT for scholarship about the whole process and how you can prepare for your IMAT exam. There are going to be really in-depth lectures on this YouTube channel too, so you have to follow me if you want to get all of these benefits. So that's all from my side.